Welcome back to day 3 of our series on embroidery, everything embroidery. And my name is Rob Richards, owner of Rocky Mountain Sewing and Vacuum here in Colorado and around the world on the internet. I
There
don't know,
you
that
are,
sounds good.
right?
Joining me is our super famous influencer and know-it-all about everything sewing, Megan McCabe.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it gets better every week. So what do we got going today?
So today we're going to be talking about the Brothers Stellaire machines.
Stellaire!
Stellaire! They're really, really fun. There's a sewing and embroidery combination and just an embroidery only one, but we have Coleen from Brother, who we know and love, who's going to tell you guys all about these machines.
Coleen is almost as famous as Megan. She's awesome. So thank you for joining us, Coleen. Take it away.
Hello, I'm Colleen, a brother educator, and I'm here to show you some of the wonderful features of the Stellaire. Now, I have the Stellaire XJ1, but it's been upgraded. It got enough brains, so that's the same as the Stellaire XJ2. I'm also going to talk about the XE1 and the XE2. Now, the XE machines are embroidery only, so they're not sewing machines. They look the same, they're the same size, but they just embroider. And that was because the public you asked Brother for a machine that you could have that would just do embroidery because you were embroidering so much. So that's why the XE was born. So let's get started and my table looks a little messy, but it's because I have a whole bunch of things laid out for you to see. So before I get started on the machine, I want to show you some of the things that are included with the machine. First of all, there's this handy dandy toolbox. It holds all kinds of feet. And the machine comes with a big assortment of feet. Brother just really made it so you could see a lot. Now I'm going to get this, there we go, unlatched so I can open it. I can't hold it up at an angle, I don't think, without, there we go. Go this way, Belle, the other. Oh, then it's not in the camera. Oh, okay. So this shows you some of the feet. These are your embroidery feet. These are your sewing feet, so they're kept separate. Here is your buttonhole foot right here. And then we have a whole bunch of other things for free motion quilting. And when you take this lid off and you go to the inside, you'll see a whole bunch more feet. And I'm not going to take them because I'm afraid I'll drop them on the floor and have a real big mess. So that's why I'm not doing that right now. Let me put this out of the way. And let me put the lid back on this guy and the lid on this guy. Now, if you hear pounding on the door, it's my cat. She usually helps me sew, and she can't be in here when I'm doing a video, and it makes her mad. So that's what you might. The trusty dusty screwdriver, it's a little tiny guy, but what's really practical about him is that he rotates so you can use him down, or you can have him closed. So if you're taking him in your pocket, you don't have to worry about the edge of the screwdriver ripping into your pants. This is a stylus for touching the screen and your fabric. This is a free motion quilting foot, and it has a laser drop so that you can see where you're going with this. This guy is 2 pieces. This is a couching guide. So the couching guide goes on to hold your yarn, and then this is the foot, and the foot will, hard to see because it's really tiny, the foot will guide it for you. So you're going to make sure that your yarn is going right where you want it to go. The buttonhole foot, and of course that just slides out to accommodate whatever button you have. You're going to put your button in right here, close it down on the button, and when it goes to the machine will read what size button you have and make the buttonhole just with enough ease so that it will be perfect. I love it doing the thinking for me. Now, this guy I haven't talked about yet, but he is really a special thing. Now, he has a plug-in, and he has to be plugged in to work right. But he also has a belt. So if you think of the belt as feed dogs on top, you know what your feed dogs on the bottom do. They move your fabric through. The feed dogs on the top do the same thing with your top fabric. So sometimes I have 2 different things, like blue jeans and a knit shirt, and they are just not going to stitch together nicely. But if I set the speed on this just a little bit faster so it will ease in that knit, they will come together and they will be absolutely perfect. So this is one of my best friends. You can turn it off so it's not, so you can still use it while it's on the machine, but it's not using the belt. And then you can turn it on so the belt is activated. I use it a lot. You can actually use it for lightweight gathering too. And boy, is that handy. But I'm going to set this guy down and I'm going to sit down in front of the machine because she's so pretty. And we're going to get started. So here she is. What about it? Okay, yeah. We ready? Okay, so here is the main screen of my Stellaire. So it is an amazing machine, and we're going to go through all of the features because there's so much in this machine. So we're going to start out with, and I'm going to just touch the pencil with my, or touch the screen with my pen, hoping that it's not as fat as my finger. So we're going to start with utility stitches, and you can see there's lots. And whatever stitch you touch, it will show you that stitch. And there's a ton of stitches in here. I'm not going to go through all of them. I am going to go through some on the next few pages. So let's see. This one turns it into free motion. Can you see how it changed the foot up here to the free motion quilting foot? So that means I want a free motion using that stitch. I'm going to turn that off because I don't want a free motion right now. And now it goes back to showing me the J foot, which is the normal foot that you would use with most of your stitches. Down here, you can see you have an auto back tack. I have auto scissors. I have the foot to go up and down automatically. And I have, this is one of my best friends in the entire world. So if you look over here on the bed of the screen, I'm going to put a piece of paper under it so maybe you can see it a little bit sharper. You have a laser guide. So what this is a beautiful red line to line up the edge of your fabric with. Now, if you're a person who has a difficult time keeping a seam straight or keeping your fabric straight, this guy is great because it comes out at least 4 inches from the needle, and it can move. You can move it left or right, whichever you need to do. I'm going to move it so you can see it moving. And I can put it in a bunch of different places. But what's so exciting to me about this is I always had a really, really hard time keeping seams straight. But when I can put the edge of my fabric right up against this, I am going to be perfectly straight every time. So I am a huge fan of this guy. I'm going to turn him off for right now, but you can see why he's such a favorite of mine. And we're going to just go through, let's go through some of these other stitches. And whatever stitch you choose, it's going to come up in a default. Now what you can do is you can adjust the width, the length, the where you want it, the shift, and the tension. So all of those can change, and you can save up to 5 memories. Do I have 5 memories in use for certain stitches? Absolutely, and you'll see one of them in just a little bit. Let's go through here to category 2. And here's where you're going to see one of the ones I think that I use all the time, and it's this guy. Oh, that's not what it looked like in the picture, is it? That's because I use this fellow for doing my bindings. So I've made the stitches short because they drop into a, it's not a solid stitch here, it's a short stitch. And then I've made the bite. So I can do the best bindings so quickly on my machine using this stitch that I am just totally in love with this guy. So of course you have your hemming stitches, which are wonderful. You have all kinds of really, really practical stitches. This is just to help hold things down while you're working on them. What you may have a giant piece of fabric and you just want to contain it. This one is another page with a bunch of fun stitches, decorative things, all kinds of things. I'm going to go now to buttonholes because buttonholes are a fun favorite. Now, I used to not like buttonholes until I started working with Brother machines. Now, with the Brother machine, when you choose a buttonhole, you simply, as I mentioned when we were opening up, you simply put the button in here. and you close it down to the size of the button. And then when you put this foot on, there's a page and it reads the button about having it be the wrong size. Love that feature. Let's go to sideways sewing. Why do I need sideways sewing? Well, because sometimes I've got a piece that's just too big and too awkward for me to manage. So what I can do is I can stitch to the left, I can stitch down, I can stitch to the right, and I can stitch backwards. Yes, you can. And it does a really nice job. So you also do have the zigzag. The zigzag doesn't do the diagonals, just the right and the left, but the straight stitches on the diagonal. So I love that guy. Quilting. So these are the quilting stitches that you would use. Many of them are the same that are in the utility stitches, but they're in the quilting panel. So if you're in the quilting mode, you have those stitches available for you to use. It's really convenient. Now these guys, it says H for hand. So what it is it's a stitch that looks like you hand stitched it. So it's going to go 3 times in one spot and then take a little stitch and 3 times in the next spot. So what it looks like you spent a lot of time hand stitching and you did it on the machine. So that's pretty cool. That is a free motion couching. Couching is a fun way to add dimension, and I'll show you some couching later that I did in embroidery. And this guy is just a personal favorite of mine. This is called tapering. So with tapering, I can, and I'm going to go for this guy right here, I can have a tapered stitch. Now I've chosen one of the tapering stitches and they're all different ones, but I like that one. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to touch the icon that looks like T for tapering, and it opens up a new panel. So what it lets me do is to choose which ending point and starting point I want. And there's a lot. So I'm just going to touch select. I chose 60 because that's what I like. But you can have 30 degree, you can have 15 degree. Oh, that's a pointy little fella. You can have the 45 degree, you can have it at an angle or straight. Again, I like the 60, so that's what I chose. But you can set whatever you want, and then it's ready to go. Then you can tell it how many repetitions you want. So I set mine for 12 repetitions, which is about 1.2 inches. Now, if I take that down, if I go 10 times, that's 1 inch. So that's what I'll set it at. And I want you to see this happen because it's so magical. It's so easy to get these really impressive tapered stitches. So I have some blue thread in here, Brother Blue, of course, so that I hope it will make it easy enough for you to see it. And I'm just going to stitch this one little bit. It's only 1 inch long. So see, it told me I have the foot controller on. Well, I'm not going to use the foot controller for this, so I'm just going to let it go. And I have it at a medium speed. I don't see that there's any need for me to rush through this. Okay, now it tapered, and did you notice that it took a couple of stitches to tie a knot? I'm going to touch cut. And there is my beautiful little tapered stitch. You see my beginning thread, and you have, so can you imagine what a beautiful edging this would make, or to hold down ribbon or something fun? It actually is open, so you could weave ribbon behind it if you wanted to. But there's a bunch of those, you saw them. So I'm going to close that back. You can see there's just a bunch of those that we can use. So those are really fun. So I kind of went through the utility stitches pretty quickly, but there's a lot of them in there. And notice that I can retrieve it if I've saved it. I can put it into memory. I have all kinds of choices that I can memories for every stitch. Okay, now we're going to go into character and decorative stitches. So that's another whole pattern of sewing stitches. So I'm going to open up panel number 6. And there's a bunch in here. And when I say a bunch, I mean really a bunch. I'm not going to go through them all. Well, I'm going to go through enough so you get an idea. See this? I'm just barely past half. So there's really a lot in there of different sizes. Now that took me back up to the top, and I'm going to go down to the stitch that I really wanted to show you, because this is not, I mean, it's just stitches, right? So you choose a stitch, you stitch it. No, this guy is completely different. This guy is cool. So I'm going to choose this stitch right here. And I don't want that. I want to just choose one of those. So now I just have one, and I'm going to go to plus, and I'm going to touch that fella again. Well, that's no different than what I showed you before. But wait, if I come over here to where you see the arrows, and I'm going to touch flip. Oh, that was cool. Now I've made an entire completely new different stitch just by combining the same stitch twice. Now I'm going to go down the road a little bit here. There's one I'm looking for. There we go. This guy. Now I've made a completely new pattern. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to just make that into a repeat pattern. And so it has now taken my design and turned it into a repeat design. It will stitch it for 100 miles if you have that much bobbin thread. Now, the fun thing about this is, and it may be really hard for you to see on the screen, so I'm going to try to point closely. See how the little star is light blue? That means that I can delete it or change it to something different if I want to. Now I'm going to go up here to the arrow key, and you'll notice at the bottom of the big panel is now light blue. So now that's the one I can change. Maybe I didn't want to get stuck changing just the little star guy. I want to change this guy too. So whatever is the light blue can be changed to something completely different. I'm going to throw one in here that I don't even like, but it sure makes an impression as to what the change looks like. So do I like that? Not particularly, but that's okay. That wasn't the point. The point was for you to see how that works so easily. So under character and decorative stitches, that was panel 6, and we saw tons in there. Let's go to panel 7. And there's a bunch more. These are also some of the sewing stitches that you know. This is a great one for, can be used as a great one for putting on bindings. So's that one. There's just a ton in here, and I'm not going to go through them all. I will drop that pretty red laser in there so you can see how it's going to guide right along the edge of my stitching so that I will be perfect, because being perfect is really nice. And especially when my friend's doing all the work. So I'm not going to go through, well, I'll go through a few more of these so you can see them. I'll go back to character and decorative stitching, and I'm going to choose these guys. Now these guys are thicker and bolder, and they're really nice. There's a lot of them in here. That's one of my personal favorites. But, and you can make them large and you can make them small. You can flip them, you can flop them, you can do one like I did before and flip it. There's so much that you can do with these that it's just a fun thing. Let's go back to character and decorative. And these, we all know what these guys. So we can take one of these and we can say, oh no, we really just wanted one. And then we could put the next one up and we could move it up and down so you can have it like your pattern is moving up and down. So you can make a pattern within a pattern with this, which is really cool just by moving the spacing on that. Let's go back here. These guys are the cross stitches. So the cross stitches are really fun. I know this doesn't look like it, but it's a heart. So we're going to choose that guy and we're going to choose one. And we're going to choose the heart. Whoops, what did I do wrong? I didn't tell it to add another one. So now when I add that, now I'm going to have a pattern. And I can tell it to repeat the pattern. So it has the little S pattern with the little heart. Just a nice change. It gives the eye something to follow, which makes it a little more impressive than if you just did the same thing. At least that's what I hear um, from people who say that. And again, you've got your laser, so you can just move it wherever you need it to be so that you're always right in that perfect position. So let's go back to character and decorative. These are some sewing stitches that you might need to default to. So without having to leave that panel and go someplace else, they're right here. Let's go one more, because there's one more that I really want to show you. You do have 3 alphabets. These are stitched alphabets, so you're doing them in stitching. I'm a little more lazy, so I tend to do mine on the embroidery side. Now, this fella may turn out to be one of your best friends, because what does this guy do? He allows you to create any stitch that you want. It doesn't make any difference what it is. You say, can I write a capital M? Yes, you can. You can write your name in here. You can do all kinds of things with this. And I'm going to do something that's really simple and just stitch. So I'm going to set it. I'm going to move. I'm going to set it. I'm going to move. And you can see that I'm just moving the arrow keys. And then I'm going to go up and set it. And I've just made a really silly, simple, crazy pattern, but let's test it and see what we get. Okay, that's kind of cool. That'd be great for tacking down ribbon or something. So just, if there's a stitch that you see and you think, oh man, I wish I could do that, you can. You just have to draw it in. So I'll put that fella into memory on the machine and he'll be there for the next time that I want to do him. Kind of cool, don't you think? So that's kind of a quick overview of the sewing side. Oh, there's a big view of it. So if you wanted to see it even bigger and bolder, there you go. So that's just kind of a flyby on the sewing side of it, because I wanted you to see some of the sewing features. This guy is major for sewing, but guess what else it can do? It's got my design center, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. My design center allows me to create my own embroideries. I want exciting, anything you want. Could be great. Okay. But we're going to go back to embroidery. I'm just going to fly by Disney. There's a whole Disney character pattern right in here. And it's going to tell me that it needs the embroidery foot, and that's okay. I knew that. So with my Disney characters, these are each, think of them as a file folder. So I'm going to open this file folder right here. And there are a ton of designs in here. I'm going to show you a couple of them because they're so huge. This guy is almost 13 inches tall. So you have jacket back material there. And then of course you have to have a jacket back of Minnie Mouse also. But you have a bunch of them. This one is one that is a favorite. It's also nice because it shows the whole family. And then here's one if we're getting ready for Christmas. That's a great one. So there's all kinds of designs in here. Now that was one category. What if I go back and choose, well, some of you are princess people, so let's choose the princesses. So there is, sorry, I'm not good with the princesses. There's the real princesses right there. There's all the princesses, because the other one's not really considered a princess, but take a look at her. Take a look at that one. Isn't that dramatic and beautiful? That's a jacket back right there, folks. So there's all kinds of designs here. There were multiple categories under this. Of course, we have cars. The guys have to have what they need to. So there's so much that you can do with this. Now let's go back into the normal embroidery, because I skipped right to Disney because it was fun. Each of these, think of each of these as a file folder full of designs. And I've gone down to 18, but wait. There's 23 file folders full of designs. This one is designs where you are just going to add applique fabric. So you can make that, it reduces the stitching and it adds something to it when you do applique. And I have a jacket here with me in the room where I took out some of the stitching and did applique, and it reduced the stitch count greatly because the sweatshirt I have it on is too stretchy. It would never, ever, ever have worked. But I'm going to just choose this fella right here for a minute, and we're going to choose I'm torn between what I want to show you first, because this is one of my absolute favorites. There's this little flower, and I'm going to get rid of that background piece because I don't need that. And I'm going to edit. Whoops, I edited too fast. I'm going to put this little applique icon around it. Now, notice that I have a little applique patch. These are wonderful for children's clothing, backpacks, anything you're going to travel with. It's really nice to have that one little piece. I saw a grandma one day at Disney World, and she had 6 or 7 grandchildren with her, and each child was dressed with a different character. So they had a hat, a backpack, and I think it was so it was easy to find that note if they got lost in the crowd. Anyway, I'm going to go here and I'm going to touch this fella, and I'm going to touch this icon right here. It's the one that looks like a square with a bunch of blocks. And I'm going to tell it to go ahead. And then this arrow will move them apart. That one would move them closer. This one will move them apart just a wee bit. So I went from one little design that I created to 20 patches in a click. So this is a super, super useful tool, even if you only need 3 or 4 patches for a group of kids. It's really nice to have. So I love this guy. He's a work saver in my world. I'm going to go out to go home for, yes, it's okay to cancel the pattern. I'm going to go back to embroidery. And we're just going to look at a few of these categories just so that you have an idea. There's all just, this is a red work category, so you have all red work. Or some people choose that as black work, whatever your choice is. There's a sweet little bunny. Great for above a pocket. These are also good. I mean, there's just so many things in here for you to utilize for whatever you want. And of course, you can add new designs at any time, so that's not a big deal. So let's go back to, I'm going to choose this guy this time because I like him too, and I'm going to set him. And now we're going to talk about the things that I can do to a design when I have it in place. So I can go to edit. I can go to size. Now, size is really tricky, so you need to pay attention to this. The empty box does not change the stitch count. So I can make it larger or smaller by about 15%. That's it. I'm done. Game over. So if I make it bigger, it's 1.5 inches by 1.25 inches. If I make it bigger, I got to almost 2 inches and 1.5 inches. That's it. I'm done. Okay, that's not really what I want. So I'm going to go back to where I was, and I'm going to touch the box that has stitches in it. So when you touch the box that has stitches in it, that says, is it okay to reset? Because it will reset it. If you've already turned it, it will reset it. It has to do that to do the calculations. So you're going to say, okay, whether you've reset it or not. And then watch. Last time, what did I do? I went from 1.6 to almost 2 inches. Watch this guy. Okay, I'm at 3.25. So my stitch count has changed with this. This is going to have the exact same integrity and fill as it did as a little design, because you have that capability. I can just go back and make it smaller. Maybe I wanted it to be tall and skinny or short and fat. So I can do all kinds of things with this to adjust it to the garment of the piece I'm working on and what it has to fit in, the patch, and there it is, and it's ready to go. So I am totally in love with this feature. So we can size it, we can move it. Of course, I can just take my pen and move it anywhere I want, but if I wanted to do it carefully and use my pencil, then it will move precisely. Sometimes that's better. Now I'm also going to add, just for a second so you can see it, these grid backgrounds. So these are on page 7. So you have different grid backgrounds. And if you look right here, you'll see the grid appear. So that's the frame size I'm working with, the 9.5 by 9.5. That's a 3/8 inch grid. So it's a very, very close grid. It's wonderful for lettering and small things. That's a 1 inch grid. Again, a really handy This is just the size of, it's going to show the center grid, and then it's going to show the around, and I'm going to leave it at that because I'm going to do something with the center grid that I want you to be able to see how to do. So I'll leave that where that is. Now, edit. Let's see what else we have under here. So we had sizing, we have moving, we have rotating. You can rotate it 90 degrees, 10 degrees, 1 degree, or a tenth of a degree. So sometimes we don't get our fabric quite perfect and we just rotate it slightly. But whatever you need to do, that's there. And I'm going to just leave it alone. I'm going to go back here to edit. This one is flip it and flop it. So maybe I'm putting it, see how I can flop it? So sometimes you want something so they look like they're coming together. That's a perfect way to do this. This one is copy paste. So if I just wanted a second one, I can pop one in there. Now I don't want there, so I'm just going to go back and make him go away. There we go. Density. I can adjust the density. Do I? Rarely, because the machine does such a good job of the density that I don't necessarily need to, but you have so that you can add more density, or let's say you're sewing on a real thin, like a windbreaker. It's very, very thin. Okay, you may want to reduce the density because you don't want that many holes in your windbreaker, or because your windbreaker is so thin that it may pucker. So when I'm doing that, sometimes I result with a patch because I like the look better, but that's up to you. Now, this guy we've talked about, this guy we've talked about, making you patch. This is changing the color. So I can look at my design and I can go, that bright blue just isn't doing it for me. I really need red. And I've got red. So I can audition a color change before I've made a commitment to stitch it. And if I don't like the red with the blue inside of it, I can just reset it. And if I liked it, I can change the rest of them. But you have different brands of thread here. Of course, I'm always using the Brother thread, but it's nice to be able to see those change and get what you think you want. This would be adding text. This would be stippling around it. So I stippled around it. I didn't stipple over it. If you look very, very carefully, you can see that it put up its own little barrier and there won't be any stippling around it. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to cancel the stippling because I don't want it right now. Now, this is another trick because I have stippling right here on the screen, but I happen to know that in my design center, I have a lot more background fills that I really like better than just stippling. So what I can do is I can use this guy to build a barrier around this. And I can put him into memory. And then it says, do you want to recall him from my design stamp pattern list? Well, yes, I do. So now I'm going to add my design center, and I'm going to add from here and here. And there's my little flower, and I'm going to touch OK. Now I'm in my design center where I told you I had all those pretty different fills. So I'm going to go right down here and I'm going to touch this guy. So there's stippling. That's a standard fill. This is where the gravy train is. If you touch select, there we go. You will see that I have 30 different patterns. Now the patterns are resizable. You can change the angle. You can do all kinds of fun things with them. And I'm going back to circles because I like them and they're fun. And I'm going to tell it, okay. And I'm going to probably do them in, I need a color you can see, but that doesn't mess with my flowers. Let's see. We're going to do purple. And I'm going to just touch the screen. Now you can see the little blank area where my flower is protected, and you can see my beautiful, beautiful background fill. Okay, that's nice. Let's go to next. Ah, well, I think those are a little overwhelming, my little flower. So I'm going to go in here, and instead of it being 100%, I'm going to take it down to about, 75%. I can go down to 50, but this should probably be good. And then I'm going to make another change. Those straight up and down lines just don't do it for me. So I'm going to go to angle, and I'm going to go to, 45 degrees. That's a nice angle. Now this one asks me, do I want a box around the outline or not? I really don't care, because I'm just gonna put it in a frame anyway. And now when I touch set, all of my changes are going to occur. So I'm going to touch preview, and it says it will not be saved. So if you're smart, you go ahead and save it right now. Touch preview. Ooh, that's cool. Look at my bubbles, how they're off at angle now. Let's touch set. It's going to be converted to an embroidery pattern. And there we go. There's my beautiful flower, and it's encased with this gorgeous background that's got a really nice texture to it. So that was pretty easy, wasn't it? So that was a fun thing that we can do in embroidery. And I'll tell you what, let's just save that into memory, because that's one I might use later. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to embroidery. What did we not hit? Well, we only hit the first page here. Let's go into the alphabets. So we have 22 alphabets. We have the tiny alphabet. Now I'm going to touch one so that you can see how big it is. I'll touch the bold one. I'll touch the B for brother, and I'll set it into place. And oh, can you see it? It's a speck, isn't it? It's like a little speck of dust. You can't see it. But if I make it bigger, a lot bigger, oops, you can almost see it. So what's cool about that is these are the tiny letters that you're doing for a label or something that you want really, really small. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that because we're not going to do it. But we are going to go back and look at some of the letters here. There's so many fun letters, and most of these are all, that was one of my personal favorites. So you have uppercase, lowercase, numbers, symbols, and then the foreign language symbols, because Brother machines are sold globally. Well, of course, we have to have the letters for other countries. Isn't that cool? Let's just real quick type in the word brother so you can see it. And there it is. It's set. Huh. Let me think about that for just a minute. Do I like that font? Do I want to array it? Oh, look at that. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. Those always crack me up because they're like a ladder. And if you don't like that one because it was too tight for you, then what you can do is I think this one's loosen. Yeah, you can loosen it. So those curves are adjustable, and I'm going to take it back to straight. So let's see about that for just a minute. I liked that font really a lot when I first picked it. Oh, do I like that one better? Oh, that one's really bold. I'm going to go there for a minute. Oh, that's probably what I'm looking for this task. See how I can have it all set and audition all my different alphabet fonts so that I can get what I want. And there are a lot of different alphabet fonts to audition. So that's pretty exciting. And we're not going to set it because we're not going to sew it. We can space ours apart. We can do all kinds of things with them. If you just a little that happen, then you just touch here and it just scooches them just a little bit. It's just a little bit. But as you see by my stitch count, it's actually, or by my size, it's actually getting a little tighter. Still but just gives me some power tools that I could really use here. So now I'm ready to stitch it. I'm not going to stitch it because we don't need to stitch it. We just need for you to see how fun this is. It's really, really easy to get into trying the different alphabets and how pretty they are and all the different things. I'm just going to go home real quick and I'm going to come back in here to embroidery. And now we haven't been to this guy yet. This guy is a good friend of mine because look at the size of these letters. Look at these guys. Let's show a B for brother. And he's 4 inches tall. That's a pretty letter. Now the white unfortunately doesn't show up really well on the screen, but if I did blue and then maybe did white stars in it, that would really show up nicely. So I'm not stuck with their colors. I can choose whatever color I want. Now I'm going to choose this guy because he and I are best friends. So this guy is 5.5 inches tall and he has these beautiful flowers on it. Well, I'm actually going to put him on a jacket for my husband, and he's not quite so excited about the flowers. And that's okay. I can understand that. So I'm just going to touch set, and then I'm going to come up here to edit. And then I'm going to come down here to this. It looks like scribbles with a slash mark through it, or stitching with a slash mark through it. So I'm going to touch that fellow. And there's the same icon at the bottom of the page. So if you look at my screen, you can see my B is beautiful. It's gorgeous. But I don't really want that guy, so I'm going to turn it off. And if you look over here, you'll start to see the colors disappear. So there went that flower. Oh, there goes the pink flowers. Watch them, they're right here, and they're gone. Bright pink flowers, gone. The dark green, gone. And the little green leaves, gone. And so now I have the letter that I wanted. I have this big, clean, beautiful B that's 5.5 inches tall. So it's great for a jacket. And then you can put another initial with it or their name underneath it or whatever you want. But you can see how easy it is to remove colors. Now, if you're regretful and you're sorry you moved a color, if you'll just choose that, it'll start to come back. See how they're coming back? I can turn that off and they'll come and they'll reappear. So you haven't done it for life. You haven't damaged anything in there. You've just taken out those colors for today. So I always think those are kind of fun. Let's go back and see what else we need to talk about here. Okay, these are the shapes. So shapes are useful for so many things, including patches. So one of my favorites is this guy with the little stitches down. And the reason is because I'm lazy. And if I do this, the little blanket stitch will stitch it down for me. So you can do these as patches. You could have done these just the way I did the patch with the little flower. And I can set it into place. And I can put anything inside of it for the patch that I want. It doesn't make any difference what you choose. I think Santa might be too big, but we'll try him and see. Oh yeah, he's way too big. But because I could resize him down. Probably, let's see if I can resize him down that much. Probably not because he's too big. I would just make the patch a little bit bigger. So there's always a way to make this work. You just have to think about it for a minute. So we're going to get rid of him. We're going to go back to embroidery. And these are interesting. I didn't show you all the shapes, but there's quite a few of them real quick. There they are. There's 10 different shapes. So always the one you're going to want to use for patches for kids like soccer jerseys and things like that. And there are different outlines. So that one was the 3-peat, 3 times around, 1 to stitch it into place, one to show you where to stitch it, 1 to stitch it into place, and 1 to finish it. So those are pretty nice. Now we're going to go to this guy. So this is buttonholes. Now we had buttonholes in sewing, so why do we need buttonholes here? Because buttonholes are a whole lot different than buttonholes that you had in sewing. So I'm just going to go to one. So these are just decorative stitches. And we're not going to worry about them. Yes, there's a lot of them. They're just easily handled, you know, so that you can bring them in here. But we're going to go here and we're going to choose buttonholes. Now I'm going to choose, this of course is an eyelet, and this also is an eyelet. And then these are the different styles of buttonholes. So I'm going to choose this fella right here. Whoa, look at the size of that buttonhole. He is 3.93 inches. Why do I need a buttonhole that big? Oh, because they're so much fun to use with a cape or things like that. They're also great for kids. This could actually be a pocket. You just stitch it down in it and slit it, and it could actually be a pocket. For a small pocket that was kind of hidden or something. So those are kind of fun. Now there's my buttonhole, and it's just about 4 inches in length and about a third in width, because the width isn't going to change. And I'm going to add to my buttonholes. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to, guys, so I'm going to choose Mr. Butterfly and I'm going to set him. And obviously that's not going to work. So I'm going to edit him. I'm going to rotate him 90 degrees and move him up. Wow, wouldn't that be spectacular on a, and let's move him this way just a little bit. Wouldn't that be spectacular on a cape? Oh my goodness gracious. There we go. Now, I have to try to remember how to do this. Copy, paste, move him down. I rotate 90, 90. I can't remember how to do this. This is not right. So let me do it again. I have my notes, which tells me how to do it, but they're not right here in front of me right now. So I'm going to select him. You get the idea. Let's see. Can I flip him? I need to flip him, don't I? And I don't remember how. Let's try that. There we go. There we go. That's just operator error, people. I haven't done it enough, and I'm going to move him over here. But you can think about what a dramatic buttonhole that would be for a cape or a scarf. A lot of people have a scarf now and they'll put a buttonhole or something so it doesn't get lost or pulled off when they're going through town or on an airplane or something like that. So I just love this feature. And of course, there were a lot of buttonholes. I went through that really fast. So, but there were a lot of buttonholes. Let's just save him into memory. Okay. And we're going to get rid of him. And we're going to come back in here because I want you to see again how many there were. Because I kind of just rushed you through that because I wanted to get to where I wanted to be. But you can see there are a bunch of really, really dramatic trims for around a buttonhole. This one would go around each end, of course. Same thing with these, above or below. So there's a whole variety. You can have the trim on the buttonhole be wherever you want it to be. The butterfly was kind of one of my favorites because it was so big. We did talk a little bit about the Disney characters, so I'm going to skip over those for right now. And I'm going to go to the last piece that's on screen. And I think I have one of these I can show you. These are couched. So remember when I held up the couching piece? So this is the couching piece, and it fits on the top of the machine like that, right up here on the top, so that when you have your yarn, you can guide it through the top, down through the side, and then there's a little piece on the rest of the couching foot right here, which will guide the yarn right down to where it needs to be. So it's very, very easy. It's a little bit addictive. And I thought I had one laid out here, but I don't see it in my sample pile. So I'm going to go to the next page, and that's this guy. And these are really fun. You have uppercase, you have lowercase, you have numbers and symbols. So I'm going to show you the one that I did because this is fun. I'm going to grab him and I'll bring him back over in front of the machine so you can see him. Let me just show you a couple of other little things while I'm at it because show and tell is fun. Okay. So this is couching. See this? This goes to shows with me, and people just cannot resist it. They want to trace it with their finger. So what I found what's really cool is for children, it really, really helps them identify their letters and learn it because of the tactile of feeling the yarn. Older people like it because it stimulates the nerves in their fingers. So I love it because it's just absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to do something I'm going to open up my sample and I'm going to show you the inside because the letters are so beautiful and so clean, even on the inside. It's not messy or anything like some of the other couching that I've seen is. This is really tidy and neat. But this has just been literally a showstopper so many times because they just want to stop and feel it and touch it. So that's a fun thing to do. And that was with 4-ply yarn. I had no trouble with the 4-ply yarn. So that was fun. This, when we talked about patches, I didn't hold up a patch, but this is a patch. Why did I do a patch and not directly onto the little shirt here? Because the shirt is a really, really stretchy fabric. And the patch with that kind of detail in it will never show. I mean, the embroidery with that much detail in it will get buried into the texture of this very thick fleece shirt. So what I did instead was I just stitched it onto a patch background and then stitched the patch on. So sometimes we have to do that. We want to embroider on something, but the surface isn't really great. Fleece is wonderful, but it stretches a lot. Some of the silks are wonderful, but they are just too shallow to really hold it. So if you put it on as a patch or an applique, you get the same beautiful, beautiful look, but you're not having to suffer the fight. Now, this is another thing. I'm going to take you into my design center and show you some of the features in, excuse me, in my design center. But when dear little person who's dear to us was about 6, and this was his first handwriting with his own name, we were there and I said, oh, can I have that piece of paper, please? And I took it and I made it and copied it into a pillowcase using the My Design Center feature. And then what happened, he got to use the pillowcase and he was really impressed with his own name on it, spelled in his own. Actually looked at it and said first grade handwriting, which was true. But so much fun to do things. And we haven't talked enough about My Design Center, so we're going to talk. But My Design Center is, I don't want to say the words of what it really does because then people will be afraid. So I'm just going to call it My Design Center, but in secret language, for those of you who are not afraid, it's actually digitizing software. Whoa, that scared you, didn't it? So what it is, it's going to take things that you want to turn into embroidery and do it on the machine without you having a panic attack. Because so many people get so frightened when we hear the word digitizing. Well, I have this software, but I've never used it. I hear that all the time. I use the Brother software, but I find there's so much that I can do with just the program that's on the screen. So I'm going to go to the My Design Center program now, and I'm going to do something you probably can't even imagine that I'm doing. If you weren't watching the show, I'd be doing this with my. I'm going to be a nice girl and use a pen. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to touch the pencil. And I'm going to, are you ready? Don't blink because you'll miss it. Okay, that's my dog's name. I wrote it. I'm going to touch next. It shows me it's going to use a satin stitch. That was its default for what I did. I'm going to tell it that's fine. And it says it's not going to save it, but it is. So when I touch OK, that's my dog's name written in my handwriting. And it was that hard to do. So maybe you're uncomfortable writing on the screen. I get that. No big deal. Is there anything else you can do if you can't write on the screen? Well, actually there is. What you can write on a piece of paper and take a picture of it with your, oops, I've got to find my, here we go. So let me show you this. And, okay. My cameraman's with me. Now if I could just hold my phone straight so you weren't, but I can't. I'm going to go, whoops, I went too fast. See what happens when you go too fast? Oh, come on. There we go. There's two programs on here. This is My Stitch Monitor. Now what this does is maybe I've started something and I'm going to do something you're not supposed to really do, but I'm going to run downstairs and get a cup of coffee. This will tell me if I need to come back and replace a bobbin, change a color, whatever I need to do, it will tell me. So that was one of them. And this one is called, let's wait for it to pop up. This one is has different things that it can help you do. So snap capture with a frame for positioning. So snap capture means I just put the picture in a frame, take a picture, and send it to the machine. So this machine uses the Snap app tricks to get your design into your machine for you. And I have some that I can pull out here in just a second, but I want to go through all the features first. This one is, and now it's telling me what I need to do because it doesn't trust me to remember that. And so it says to hold your small device parallel to the paper. And I'm going to walk over here to the paper. And it's going to take a minute because, oh, it didn't take a minute. It was fast. Now I'm going to try to show you, let me see how I can do this. Put it right here, see if I can do that. It's not showing it right, quite right. There's my hoop. It needs the hoop markings to judge the size. There's my little bunny rabbit in it. Let's see. And then it says it can't find it because I wasn't using the frame. I'm just using the app so you can see it. The app is really convenient, is a free download from the Brother website, and it works beautifully. So I'm just going to tell it okay, and I'm going to hold it parallel, and you can see, I can't figure out a way to, there we go. Hold it 3, 2, 1, snap, and it has it. And it'll tell me, let's see if you can see this, send it to the machine. And then I send it to the machine and it pops up over there. So let me just touch send and off she goes. And it says sent to my design center because remember that's where we are doing our digitizing. So there are 3 categories. That was the snap capture. Then the third one is select a pattern, an image for pattern editing. I'm going to put this down here so you can read it. See, I can't read it while you're reading it because I'm not good enough to do that. So snap capture, all of this is free. You just, like I said, you just download it to your phone, any phone, it doesn't matter. There's one for Android and there's one for Apple. There's 2 different programs. You would just, download the one that applies to what you're doing. And there you go. So now I'm going to go over here to the machine so that you can see. So I'm going to go to my design center. I'm going to go to image. And I'm going to go to Wi-Fi because that's how I got the image there. If I had, if I had used this icon as the second one that's just a plain stick is the first one. I believe the first one works a little fast. USB ports in case you need them. And then this one is the one that I sent. So let's see if my rabbit's right there. Ah, there he is. And he's in the easy mode. Advanced mode would put in tell you what to do. I am going to set him. I'll enter and I'm perfect. So I'm going to tell him, okay, it's reading it. While it's doing that, and in my house, kind of taking a long time. While it's doing that, let me show you this. I'm going to hold it here so you can see it. My Design Snap App Assistant Book. So the My Design Snap App Assistant Book walks you through each of the steps of doing My Design Snap. Now, it literally holds your hand step by step, enabling a wireless network connection, viewing the instructional videos because we have instructional videos to help you, connecting the application to your Brother machine, positioning the embroidery design. It shows you how to get it positioned, how to take the picture, positioning a design using the advanced mode. And remember, I said snow, so you're going to put the snowman on. This literally spells it out, creating embroidery data in the design center with inside the hoop. So step by step, it shows you every single step. It is 13 pages. So I printed mine off because when I'm on the road, I find people that don't understand it, and it's really easy for me to show them this little, it's so quick to go through it and they can see exactly what they're going to get, because this is a very, very impressive program. It really is basically well, not basic, screen digitizing. So I'm going to remove the background, and I don't think it's going to go away, so that's okay. I'm going to go in here and add color to it. So what I'm going to do, I thought it had done that while I was talking, but it didn't because I didn't tell it to. Operator error. The machine can't read my mind. It seems like it can sometimes because it's so good. And like I said, in this place, typically it would be very quick. There we go. There we go. Now we've gotten rid of it. So what we can do is we're going to set it, and we're just going to add colors. So the black outline is obvious that it's already in place. I'm not going to have to worry about that. If I'm really concerned about this up here, which I just would handle by not stitching it, but if it really bothers you, you can choose an eraser size. Let's choose that size and make it all go away. So if I wanted to touch it with a paintbrush, I just get a little dot, and I decide. So I can make him larger or smaller. I can go up to 800%. So when I'm trying to get small areas like his teeth, you can bet I'm going up to the bigger areas. Now I'm going to fill his inner ear, and we're going to do that with yellow. I want to show the contrast. And he's going to have a little yellow tail too. And let's see, I think, what color nose do you think? Hot pink? Yes. Trying to think. We used to babysit for a bunny. Okay, now his teeth, they're really small. So I'm just going to make the picture really, really big. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to touch. I'm actually going to touch a color, and the reason is so you can see it change. You know that you would stitch it in white because the bunny has white teeth. But the reason I'm doing it this way is so that you can see the color change, so that you know that it really did change. And it's bunny, and there he is. He's got teeth, he's got the whole thing. He's all ready to go. He looks great. Let's see, what am I going to do with him now? Well, now, and that white background is there. We're not going to worry about it because we're not going to stitch it. But I want to show you some things that I can do with this guy. Okay. What I really wanted to show you is that I can change direction. And I'm going to, there we go. Now, auto means that I've let it make the choice of how it wants to stitch. But I don't want to let it do it my way. So, manual, instead of it being a 45-degree angle, which is really nice, I'm going to go to 90. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I want this to go. Human eye is so sophisticated. With that, I was doing a training, and I was like, well, that looks completely different. Because your human, like here, I don't. I just directed one. Try it with your embroidery. You'll be impressed with what it can do because it makes a huge difference. Touch preview, and it says it will not be saved. And so I could save it, but I'm just going to tell it okay. And there he is. And that guy is ready to stitch. Now, as luck would have it, through the magic of technology, I'm going to walk over here and I'm going to hold up Bunny. So isn't he cute? Now, in this one, I hadn't changed his hand yet, so it isn't quite as big of a choice as you would see, but it does make a big choice difference. You'll see it and you'll like it, I guarantee. So for a recap, this is the Stellaire XJ12. Mine is an XJ1, but it has the okay, mine is the XJ1, but it has the upgrade in it, so it works and functions as an XJ2. There's also the XE1 and 2, and they are embroidery only. They have very similar features to just the embroidery. The machine is going to look the same. The logo on it is different because you need the size of the machine. This machine comes with 4 hoops. It comes with a little bitty guy, the 4x4, the 5x7, the 9.5 by 9.5, and then the 9.5 by 14 are all included with it. And let's see if I hold these up. That doesn't really help you that much, does it? So it does come with 4 hoops. There are additional hoops available for it. These have the coding marking on it so that the machine knows exactly what size hoop you're putting it in. So it knows how to adjust for size. And that's why I have this 5x7 hoop sitting on top of the rabbit so that it's reading this so it knows exactly what size the bunny rabbit should be. So, and if you wanted it to be perfectly aligned, you can use the snowman marker and put that wherever you want it to be in the hoop and it will choose it. There are all kinds of things I can do. I can do the colored. In this case, I did just a black and white embroidery and I put in, I'll turn him around so you can see him better. And there he is. He's so cute. Um, but it's fun. You also can use a colored embroidery and it will fill in the same colors unless you tell it to do differently. But it will fill in the colors. So this is a wonderful, wonderful machine. I'm going to show you one more thing. This is really fun. This is a favorite cookie recipe that my family loves. And so I stitched it onto tea towels for them for Christmas one year, and they were all really excited. So, you know, it was something as simple as just a family recipe, and they were like, oh my gosh, that is just great. So here we are looking at a different size hoop. So we had the little bitty 4x4. We have the 5x7, and mine are loose because I had them set up to put fabric in them. So when I hold them, they kind of fly away from me. The 5x7, this is the 9.5 by 9.5. And then I have the 9.5 by 14. So these 4 hoops are included. Put it down here for you. But there are many other additional hoops that are available for this machine. Many. So I hope to see you at a show soon. And I hope that you will come and tell me about your fun experience with our beautiful Stellaire XG2 or the XE2. It's so fun to talk about the fun things they can do. So you have the wonderful sewing stitches with so many. You have the amazing embroidery with so many designs. You have the My Design Center. So you can create anything that you want, which that to me is super exciting. And let's see, what else do we have? I think that's it. So thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Okay.
All right.
I love the Stellaire. The Stellaire just is an amazing, almost top-of-the-line feeling machine without the top-of-the-line price. I guess, is that a good way to say it?
I think that's a good way to say it. Plus, it's just fun.
Yes.
There's so many things you can do with it.
It's an amazing machine. We saw a lot of the Stellaire. So with that, my shameless plug is right now when you buy any of the Stellaire machines on our website, you can go see it right now. You get to choose between an amazing scan and cut or a Print Moda fabric printer. So check that out. But also, I might have a few tricks up my sleeve. We're kind of constrained with a lot of our machines about what we can talk about price-wise online or in videos. But if you want to call this number right here, that comes directly to me. And I'd be happy to talk to you about that. And maybe I have a discount code for you to save you a little bit of money. So please give us a shout, and I think you'll love it. So
absolutely. And guys, with that scan and cut or the Print Moda, they are great additions to that machine. That scan and cut, you're able to cut out applique designs. You can even do things like t-shirt vinyl, which is very popular this time of year for gifts. And then the Print Moda, you can print your own custom fabric. So when we first got it, I was playing with handprint art for my son, and it turned out so cute. So lots of good possibilities there.
And they speak to each other,
They do, yeah. They speak to each other wirelessly and through the Artspira app on your phone or your tablet, which is really fun to dive into and play with because the possibilities are endless.
Or the endabilities are postless.
Yes, that's
Either
right.
one. So we have no interest and low interest financing available for this depending on what your needs are. And we also have a giveaway.
Ooh, yes we do.
I've been forgetting to mention this.
Yeah, so guys, you have to stop by one of our stores. We've got Colorado Springs, Aurora, Arvada, or Littleton. And you've got to enter to win the Little Brother NS 1850D.
Yeah,
so
$1,400 combo embroidery sewing machine. So we like to give those away because it's a great machine to start your embroidery journey if you don't already have one. So
absolutely. You do only get a 4x4 hoop with that. Not nearly as big as the 9.5 by 14 that the Stellaires have. But it's kind of fun because you never know what kind of surprises are out there, right?
Absolutely. So come see us, give us a call if you're interested, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow, and we're going to be talking about multi-needles.
Woo.